Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here as always. I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to embody the knowledge of. And my good friend and soul sister, Myrna Skoller, is the author of Private Lessons with Jesus, which is a great companion to A Course in Miracles workbook for students. She is also the author of numerous other books, which is super exciting. How are you today, Myrna?
Very well, even though it's raining. It seems to be raining everywhere. I don't know if it is where you are, but the clouds are all over the world, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not raining here. However, this is the first cold day that we've experienced in Massachusetts. Today it was 31 when I woke up, so a little below freezing, and my run was chilly. So we're getting into winter.
Yeah. Well, either it's raining or cold. Lynn was just saying that in Colorado it's been raining since 5 o'clock this morning, continually. We've been experiencing a lot of that. And you've got cold weather. Ooh, 31 in October. That hurts. But maybe it'll resurrect itself and you'll have some nice fall weather, warm weather. It happens. It ebbs and flows this time of year.
It does.
Yeah.
So I will start out with the introduction of my book, as I like to do, because it kind of gets my mind in the right place. Uh, what I write in the introduction of my book is I write, my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with three simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. The world cannot satisfy us. The peace that our soul is searching for resides within. Course in Miracles is very clear about that. I mean, the external world is nothing more than a reflection of an internal condition. So we're learning lessons in the world. We're learning lessons through our experiences in the world, but the world cannot satisfy us because that love that we all crave needs to be accessed from within. And it is a daily discipline. It is, I mean, for me, it's a continuous challenge. It's like we have a choice at each and every moment. Do we align ourselves with truth, which is unconditional love, or do we give control to the ego, which is our fear-based thought system? I mean, the love is going to bring peace to our minds and to our hearts. The fear is going to cause angst, but the world is constantly tempting us with, excuse me, fear-based thoughts. I mean, it is very apparent that the world is run on the egoic thought system. So what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do It's teaching us mental discipline. It's teaching us to focus on the truth of who we are, which is unconditional love as often as possible. And that love comes from a source that's greater than we are, but that we are a part of. So God is not something outside of me. God is something that I'm a part of, but I need to plug myself into that socket. I need to plug myself into the God socket. I need to focus on the truth of who I am to experience the peace that my soul is craving. And, A Course in Miracles is simple. The truth is simple, only the love is real. It's not easy because the world is run on the egoic thought system. It was interesting because yesterday I had a job at a store, and there was a consumer, a woman, who started telling a story to me and the other woman that was working at this store. And it was interesting. It was a very interesting story. What happened to her is right before she came into the store that I was working at, she was at a gas station. And I guess what happened was another car tried to get in front of her when she was on the way to the, but how she saw this is she saw this as an attack. So she decided it was very important to defend her position. And she went on to say that there was no way in hell that she was going to let this other car cut her off at the gas station. There was no way in hell that she was going to give up her space in line. And she was so upset and she was so angry. And this is something that she learned from her father and that she is going to teach her children. She does teach her children, never, ever let anyone else take advantage of you. Because if you do, you will regret it. So she has learned from her own father, and she teaches her children that you always have to stand up for yourself. And I listened to this story. It's like when she was telling the story, she was almost looking at me to agree with her. And I didn't agree, obviously, because it doesn't make sense to me. I didn't disagree because A Course in Miracles is clear that we don't want to attack someone else's position, even if it doesn't make sense. But it really contradicts everything that A Course in Miracles teaches us. A Course in Miracles clearly states that when we defend ourselves, we are attacked. When we defend ourselves, we're siding with our ego. There's nothing to defend. I mean, what happens if someone tries to cut you off? I mean, I guess in the best case scenario, coming from a place of love, you just allow the other person to step in front of you, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're in a rush and you explain to the other person with compassion that you were there first, and would they mind if you just kept your place in line? I don't know, but I do know we need to respond from a place of love, because if we defend ourselves, if we get angry, we give control to the ego. Thoughts, Myrna?
Yeah, I like the story you told, the Course in Miracles, one of the catchphrases in A Course in Miracles is, I am a victim of the world I see. So we always feel that we're victimized. I mean, that is what the egoic thought system is built on, the foundation of guilt. That's exactly what it is. So this woman that cut her off is the problem. She's the problem of her pain, obviously, and that's what the world is. That's what the ego is so good at judging. The Course in Miracles, of course, says that we should never judge. I mean, that is also something that we have to watch out for. But I have a cute story myself in that respect. Yesterday, it turns out that, I have a car, a new car, and driving it along, and uh, there was something came across the screen. Pat was with me, in fact. Do you want us to would you like us to upgrade the system, whatever it was, the computer system in your car? Yeah, sure. Okay, upgrade it. Well, what happened was after they upgraded it, uh, I lost my settings. I lost my navigation. God forbid I lose my navigation. I depend on that. And I lost my music. So I took my car to BMW and I explained the situation. And they told me that I had to wait. I have to wait. Why should I wait? The problem is not mine. You caused the problem. I didn't cause the problem. You caused the problem. So why should I have to wait? I'm sure I wasn't as overt as the woman you just described. I did it quietly, but nevertheless, my ego was really offended by this hap that was not my fault. But I could have, if I was really completely at the mountaintop, I guess you might say, and completely learn, Course in Miracles oriented as I should be, the ego does slip in. I could have, yes, waited. If I waited and waited in peace, I would have then accomplished what I was supposed to. But the impatience and the blame game is something that we're always caught up in. That's what the ego does. So it's really a matter of knowing and recognizing it. I recognized it as you were talking that, yeah, I really saw the glitch here, that I was reacting, and yet my ego was very, very happy. You know why? Because I got immediate attention, and they tended to my car post haste. So therefore, again, we kind of rally when things go our way. But that's the world. I think if the world and the 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 inhabitants of the world, my brothers and sisters, practice patience, well, it would be a different world, I'm sure, because then we'd be able to show our love that much more readily. It would come out as patience and sort of handing the baton over to somebody else and saying, okay, you go first, is really a very gracious thing. And then we get down to emotions. The emotions are the good feelings when we feel accomplished, when we feel we've done something good, when we feel peaceful, when we feel that that we're not judging, and that we want to be benevolent in the world. And those are good emotions. So we have to differentiate the emotions, the ego emotions, from the God emotions. And when we're feeling, and we know the difference, because when we're feeling peaceful and joyful as we should be, then those emotions are the feelings that are, again, aligned with our soul, with our spirit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Good story. I think we can all relate to that story, that we feel disrespected and we feel the need to speak up for ourselves, and your ego is happy when they respected you. I mean, it also sounds like they were being loving in their response, and that feels good. So very good story. There is a few chats here in the chat room. Robert writes, "Our children are carefully taught." This is when I was telling that story about the lady who was teaching her children to stand up for themselves and defend themselves. It's so interesting how that works because the world teaches that we have to defend our position. But A Course in Miracles teaches us that our strength is in our innocence. So when we are completely defenseless, that's where our true power resides. I mean, it makes so much sense because when you think about it, to really defend yourself, you can feel the angst in your heart, you can feel the anger, you can feel the fear. But when you just release all resistance and you realize that there's nothing to defend, there's so much peace in that. So you can kind of feel in your heart and in your mind if you're siding with the Holy Spirit or you're siding with the ego. Um, and then Robert writes here in the chat room, so are we, even when we do not realize it. That was in response to one of our points of conversation. And then he writes, here is a funny look at it. The blame game, save it for later. Oh, that looks good. There's a link to the blame game because I know it's so easy while living in this world to place blame on something or someone. I mean, A Course in Miracles is very clear that if we uh, blame ourselves, we're siding with the ego because that's coming from a place of fear. If we blame the other person, that's coming from our ego because it's coming from a place of fear. And it's the same difference. The ego wins whether we blame ourselves or we blame someone else. It's like in order to reconnect with the truth of who we are, we have to plug ourselves back into our God socket. We have to release blame entirely. I mean, there's different affirmations that I say that really help me to connect to the mind of God. One is complete and total acceptance. I say to myself, what if everything is just perfect right here, right now? And the other is releasing blame, releasing guilt. I embody the essence of innocence. I mean, they're just such empowering affirmations. Anything that comes from love and compassion will help us to align our mind with the mind of our creator, with the mind of unconditional love. And that is what is going to bring peace to our hearts. Yesterday's lesson really resonated with me. Yesterday's lesson is 282 in the workbook for students. I mean, they're all good lessons. Some just kind of hit me on a deeper level, and that's what yesterday's lesson did. Yesterday's lesson states, I will not be afraid of love today. I mean, you think that love would be so easy to accept and embody, but that's not always the case. I think we are so used to thinking from an egoic based mindset that sometimes it's not all that easy to connect to the truth of who we are. Um, I have this situation with a friend of mine that I believe I spoke about on Tuesday, where this particular friend has chosen to abandon our friendship. And she has done this before. And, you know, from a Course in Miracles mindset, from a mindset of unconditional love. I mean, the truth is, I cannot really be abandoned. I mean, she might not be talking to me right now, but, it doesn't have to affect me because God is there. And God is the only essence that I really need to attain that peace that my soul is searching for. So the fact that my friend abandoned me shouldn't really affect me, you know? And I am clear that if I'm coming from a place of love, it's just about sending her love and realizing that in time we will speak again. We always do. And then there's this other part of me that's just so angry, and it's very tempting to get caught up in the blame game, blaming her for reacting inappropriately. And it's so easy to start blaming her for hurting me, and then I say to myself, okay, my birthday is coming up in a few weeks. And if she completely ignores my birthday, that's up. That's it. Our relationship is over forever because I have like acknowledged every single one of her birthdays. I've acknowledged every single one of her kids' birthdays. And if she does not acknowledge my birthday, that's it. It's over, So mm, wondering why it is so important for my ego to be right, because it doesn't really bring peace to my mind. I mean, it creates a certain amount of I guess satisfaction, egoic satisfaction. I'm right, she's wrong, I'm good, she's bad. I know if I just let it go, give the whole situation to God, accept everything exactly as it is, forgive her, forgive myself, that's where my peace is. But this world really does teach us to defend our position, to attack, to blame. And again, A Course in Miracles is diametrically opposed to everything that we learn in the world. The Course in Miracles, when I listen to the Holy Spirit, what does the Holy Spirit say? The Holy Spirit says, let it go. Let it go. Love her. When the relationship is meant to come back together, it will. For now, just let it go in love. But it requires a willingness. It requires a discipline. But I do know when I listen to the ego's voice, it fuels my rage. When I listen to the Holy Spirit's voice, it brings peace to my mind. So it's interesting how that works. I mean, we have free choice at each moment. Each moment we have free choice. Do we want to align ourselves with love or not? Do we want to focus on the truth of who we are or not? Because when I hold her guilty, I feel my own pain. When I forgive her and focus on her innocence and accept everything as it is, that's what brings peace to my mind. Love is the only thing that can bring happiness to us. And then here in the chat, oh, thank you for sharing, Dove. Dove writes, blame comes from guilt, my guilt. Only accepting the atonement removes all guilt. And then Dove writes, it has nothing to do with anyone or anything outside of ourself. Very wise. Thank you, Dove. Thoughts, Myrna?
Yes, I noticed Doug's words in the chat, and I looked up what A Course in Miracles says about atonement, and I'll just read the paragraph. In A Course in Miracles, atonement is the Holy Spirit's plan to correct the mistaken belief in separation from God. So that's either truth or ego. Separation is ego, God is truth. So that's really all it is. It's really the determination with what you really want to accept as true, which is seen as the root of all fear and error. It is not a sacrifice for sin, but rather the process of undoing the ego's thought system through the practice of forgiveness. This is what we're talking about. By accepting forgiveness and changing our perception to recognize our inherent oneness with God, we realize that our separation was an illusion and we return to the state of divine wholeness. So we do grapple between truth and ego, and it's just a matter of God says it's okay, have your way. This is the ego. Do what you need to do until you're ready to come back to the divine wholeness. Divine wholeness is of God, which we're a part of. We are divine creatures of God, beings, souls, creatures, whatever, how else we want to word it or acknowledge it, doesn't really matter as long as we understand it, as long as we start to embody it and live it. That's what the Course aims to teach us. So yes, you are triggered. We're all triggered by someone that we love, that we feel has hurt us. But we have to understand that it's not about blame, that we need to recognize that to accept the other person where they're at. Not everybody is in the same place. Not everybody is in that place of divine love. So by seeing that, then you're offering forgiveness. By offering forgiveness, it's the only thing that can really heal the relationship. Because if you don't forgive, then you kind of sort of, play the in and out game, here today, gone tomorrow, nothing is really accomplished. So when you feel that coming on, because you said you've had this difficulty with this friend before, so when you feel this beginning again, just let it serve as a lesson and a blessing, really, because you too are learning. She's teaching you the lesson. The lesson that you're learning is that you're not separated from God, that you're one with God, that you are not an ego, you're spirit. And by understanding and staying within the spirit's love and wholeness and truth, that's the only way that you can experience peace. I've learned that nowhere else does peace come from except from that place of divine love, slowing down, connecting. I do that all the time when I feel that I'm out of the realm of God's love, out of the wholeness of who I really am, forgetting that who I really am, and go into the ego's turf. I begin to feel the difference, and I very often will speak to Jesus about that, and I feel the healing almost immediately. I've learned to feel that feeling of calm, that's really who I am. I'm reminded of that very often when I get out of the ego's, misery and go into the Holy Spirit's love. I feel the difference. We all want peace, right? I mean, we all want love and peace, and that's where it's truly found, and it's changeless. The world's definition of love changes from day to day. You forgot my birthday. You insulted me. You didn't notice my new hairdo. You were late. It goes on and on and on, and that's again, we're blaming someone else for our own pain, but the ego again can find a million reasons to justify those feelings of unhappiness, right, Susan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know. You brought up the definition of love. So, being that I'm a big ChatGPT person lately, because I think this is so interesting, I asked ChatGPT how Course in Miracles would define love. ChatGPT knows I'm an avid Course in Miracles student slash teacher because it always brings Course in Miracles up whenever I go on it. And the ChatGPT responded to my question. A Course in Miracles defines love in a way that goes far beyond what the world calls love. I mean, it's interesting because I guess we all can see love in a different way. I mean, that example that I gave of the woman defending her position in line at the gas station. I mean, I guess on one level, that's how she's defining loving herself. She's defining love as not allowing anyone else to take advantage of her. But that's not how Course in Miracles defines love at all. Um, it says here, quoting A Course in Miracles, love is the absence of fear. I mean, A Course in Miracles says that it cannot teach us the meaning of love because love is who and what we are. So, true love is a feeling of peace, of serenity, of bliss, of joy, of all inclusiveness. And again, love is the not the opposite of fear, but it's the absence of fear. So A Course in Miracles says it cannot teach us the meaning of love because love is who and what we are. What it can do is it can help us identify the blocks to love. So when fear arises, we can identify the pain points and choose to release them. So I think life has a way of bringing our pain to the surface so we can con- I am thinking we can confront it. It's not a matter of battling with the pain, though. It's a matter of identifying it so we can release it. So maybe that's why this is happening to me again with this friend. My issue of abandonment is coming to the surface so I can identify it and choose to release it, choose to move beyond it. As we always say, everything in life is a lesson or a blessing. And many times the lessons teach us more than our blessings. So this is a wonderful lesson in learning to understand that I cannot be abandoned. It's learning to understand that a seeming abandonment has no power over me because God has never abandoned me. And He is the only love. He is the only being that I need connect with to experience His peace. Um, so going back here to ChatGPT on the meaning of love, it explains that love is not something we do, give, or feel conditionally. It's what we are. Love is the essence of God, the state of heaven, and the true nature of every soul. Love is what you are. It is your reality and your total being. Love cannot be taught, for it is beyond what can be learned. Love is the only thing that is real. Yeah, can't we can't teach someone what love is. The only thing we can do is love them. And I guess maybe that would be called teaching by example. I don't have any children, but I believe, with children, you can't specifically, teach them what love is. But if you love them truly, they will learn by example. They will feel the warmth and the safety and the security of your love, and it will feel so good. They just will copy your way of being. That's what Jesus did while he was here on earth. He clearly states in A Course in Miracles that he doesn't want us to worship him. He doesn't want us to think of him as superior to us. He doesn't want us to put him on a pedestal. He wants us to use him as an example and live our life like he did. He's our teacher. And again, we don't want to worship him. We don't want to put him on this place so above us that we can never attain that way of being. We want to basically follow his footsteps and live our life as he taught us to do. I would think that Jesus must have been a very passionate and happy man, because how can you not be happy when you're living from a place of love? I mean, that's what brings joy to our mind. A Course in Miracles is very clear that a joy-filled state of mind is our natural inheritance. God resides at a very high energetic frequency. So in order to hear his words clearly, we have to go up to that energetic vibration, so we can hear what he is saying to us. When we go down into the egoic darkness and we're playing the blame game, we're blocking God's words. God can't get through when our mind is filled with egoic thoughts. But when we release that egoic nonsense and we just kind of go up to those high vibrational frequencies, that place of love, that's when we can hear what he is saying. It's an elevated state of consciousness, and that's what Jesus lived in when he was here on this earthly plane. And he is our role model. I mean, he specifically said, and this is biblical, what I have done, you can do also and more. That was biblical. And this is what A Course in Miracles is very clearly stating. Everything that Jesus did, we can do also and more. But there is mind discipline involved. And, my book is entitled Surrender to Joy. I think it's important to surrender to the joy that lies within as often as possible, right, Myrna?
Yes, ma'am, completely. We talk about things that occur. I find that the older I get, the more the right people show up in my life, okay, to help me with things. It's really remarkable. It always happens. It never fails. Yesterday, for instance, and I can give you so many examples. The most recent, yesterday, I had to go to a doctor's office, and there happened to have been an accident on the parkway, and there was a lot of traffic, and what should have taken me 20 minutes to get there, it took me an hour. That was like about 10 minutes late, and and I couldn't even find my way around. It was so confusing. There were so many different, rooms and entrances, I should say, various different suites to enter into Sweet Tooth 13 to Sweet Tooth 16 to 8, whatever it was. Anyway, I went into one of the suites and there was a young girl. She says, "No, you're in the wrong place. Come, let me show you." She literally led me, here, just take the elevator. You have to go up to the third floor. I know it's confusing, but she walked me through it. I would have been grappling and so forth, but I was just so that appreciative that somebody was there to just kind of help me along. I really feel that people are put in our path when we need them the most. Another time, not long ago, I had a problem getting into Pat's boat after having dinner because the tide had dropped. The tide had dropped, to a low level, and I really had a problem. I didn't know what I was going to do. Pat was already in the boat, and he's got to trying to help me in, trying to kind of navigate me. And with that, a man comes along. I'm telling you, this very good-looking guy, okay, with rippling shoulders and muscles, and can I help you? Oh yeah, you can help me. And he said he was cute. He said, "Don't worry, if you fall in, I'm a good swimmer." And he just put me at ease to the point where I'm telling you, I think I just floated into the boat. It wasn't a problem anymore. It was that assistance that seems to come along when you need it the most. And there are other examples. I had an example at the gas station too, when the right person came along and helped me and so forth. So it's always a matter of, don't worry if you kind of just accept the fact that help is always on the way. At least I find that to be more and more apparent as time goes on. So it really takes a lot of the fear away. I always know that it's going to work out. It will. And it does. The problems do work out. So again, there are wonderful souls all around us that also get it, that also know what it is to feel good, to feel truth, to feel God's love, to offer themselves. And I'm the same way. I'm certainly always available to help somebody in need. That's just kind of works hand in hand. So I think we're just here to sort of work our way through to learn the lessons. You've described what love is. That love is really in the ego's terms, it's really indefinable. But in God's terms, it's very definable. It's a feeling. It's a knowing. It's a knowing. God's love is a knowing. And certainly you mentioned Jesus. He knew of God's love. He knew all of that. So what did he have to really concern himself with? He just wanted to teach the lessons that he came to teach. And, it was a stepping stone. Maybe the lessons weren't learned right then and there, but through the ages, I think we're more or less getting it. And we just have to have the faith that it's happening. It is happening. No matter what the ego shows us, no matter what the news shows us, no matter what we experience that we think is uh, something disastrous, it really always works itself out. It always does. So, and then I think, gee, I've been around for eons and eons. Nothing's ever happened to me. Look, I'm here, right? So how can anything ever happen to me? We are eternal souls. And I really, when I think of death, I don't even think of death. I have no fear of death at all. I really don't. I mean, I just know that I will go graciously, and I believe I'll probably just die in my sleep because I asked Jesus, would you mind accommodating me in that respect? Let me just go peacefully. And so I just live my life enjoying every day as much as I can. Yes, Susan?
Yeah. Well, A Course in Miracles is very clear that there is no death because the body is something that we inhabit for a short period of time to learn some lessons. And then when our lessons are complete, we go back to the truth of who we are, which is spirit. So there is no death. So there's nothing to be scared of. I mean, s- many of us, myself included, are scared because it's unknown to us. I mean, it's hard to imagine not being in our body. But A Course
You
in
know,
Miracles is very clear that the body is not real. And from what I hear about near-death experiences, that place that exists after we leave the body, when we get to the other side of the veil, it's a very beautiful state to reside in, that place of unconditional love. I've heard so many near-death experiences. There was this one Course in Miracles teacher. I haven't seen him in a while, but he's wonderful, wonderful. His name is Rod Shellberg, and he was a doctor. And he said that he was in the room of many people when they were dying, and he could see them cross over to the other side, and he could see how much joy was available to them on the other side of the veil. So um,
that's cool.
yeah, it's nothing to be scared of. And I think A Course in Miracles is really helping me to make peace with the fact that there is no death. I mean, Jesus taught that to us, right? Clearly, that the crucifixion um, did not did not diminish him. I mean, he saw through the fear of the people that nailed him to the cross, and he did not die. He proved that death has no power over us. And A Course in Miracles is very clear that to learn the lesson, we don't want to focus on the crucifixion, we want to focus on the resurrection, so um, only the love is real. And you also spoke about love. We all are at peace when we are residing in a state of love, and what came to my mind, I think one of the most important characteristics of someone who is in their right mind is trust. When we are connected to the truth of who we are, we automatically trust our brother and ourself. It's interesting. We can't really trust others until we trust ourselves. I mean, the two goes hand in hand. And that's something that I've been working on for a lifetime. It's about trusting me, trusting God, and trusting my brothers, trusting life, trusting that everything is perfect exactly as it is. The acronym for trust, to rely upon spirit totally. Um, the friend of mine who has abandoned the relationship, that I keep talking about it because it's a trigger. It's a trigger for me right now. But what she said to me is, she said a lot of trust issues were coming up for her, and she doesn't trust me. So I definitely think she was coming from a place of fear when she said that, because trust is just based on love. Trust is based on compassion. Trust is really here in the manual for teachers. It is the first characteristic of a teacher of God. I mean, it's really beautiful what Jesus writes here in the manual for teachers. He writes that trust is the foundation on which their ability to fulfill their function rests. So that is to the teachers of God. Perception is the result of learning. In fact, perception is learning because cause and effect are never separated. The teachers of God excuse me, have trust in the world because they have learned it is not governed by the laws the world made up. It is governed by a power that is in them, but not of them. That is very beautiful. You know, how can I trust? I can trust because the world is governed by a power that is within me, but it is not of me. It is of God. And God is unconditional love. God is something that I am a part of. That's what enables me to trust the world. Um, okay, this power keeps all things safe. It is through this power that the teachers of God look on a forgiven world. Forgiveness is just so important. You cannot experience true peace until you have forgiven everything and everyone completely. That's such an important characteristic of God's teachers. And then there's a beautiful line that I think we've read quite a few times. It says here in the next paragraph under trust, when this power has once been experienced, it is impossible to trust one's own petty strength again. Who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given him? And who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the ego when the gifts of God are laid before him? What is it that induces them to make the shift? So the mighty power of an eagle is available to us whenever we are willing to surrender to it, whenever we are willing to surrender our will with a small w to his will with a capital W. And he is something that we are a part of. Right, Myrna?
Yes. Yes. And you spoke about this friend, and I can't help thinking that I put myself in that position. I think if it were me, okay, that I think if somebody repeatedly needed to blame me, needed to play that game with me, that and they need and I let it happen over and over again. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. I think I would kind of want to look at that and say, I will not accept this person back in my life, whether it be a family member, whether it be a friend, whether it be anybody that really was not intent on my well-being and my feeling good. Is really somebody that you have to kind of put on the back burner until you're sure that that person is no longer going to do that. And in some way, I think that person needs to be shown that you're not going to be that whipping boy anymore, you know? Because and so that's kind of what came to mind when you were saying that, you know. Yes, you can be forgiving in your heart. Go ahead. I like what somebody had something to say. Like you can certainly forgive. That's what you're supposed to be doing, forgiving. But you don't have to have the physical, connection with that person who is continually doing the same thing over and over again. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that. And yeah, what's love? You talked about love. You know what? Also, I wanted to say that a few minutes we talked about death, and it was also what is it? I looked it up too. What is death? What does ACIM say about death?
Mm-hmm.
Death as a belief in separation. Death is a belief in separation, according to A Course in Miracles. Death is essentially a thought of separation from our Creator. It's seen as an idea in the mind rather than a physical reality. The Course teaches that what appears to be the opposite of life is merely a state of sleep or unconsciousness. And, it made me I just learned something. When you think about it, death is not real. It tells you that death is just an idea. It's an idea in our mind. It doesn't even exist. It's something that we spend so much time on talking about and thinking about and protecting ourselves from and continually focused on when it really is nothing more than just an idea, a thought, a belief. And it of course tells us we're just asleep, we're dreaming that just in reading this, it made me kind of reinforce that understanding. Yeah. So that uplifted me. That alone, the bringing up the subject of death here. Obviously, Jesus didn't believe in death. He went very readily to the cross to prove that there is no death. So if we've learned anything from him, that's one thing that we should really learn and know.
Yeah. Yep. Death is not real. There is no death because what God created is eternal. The Course reminds us that what seems to die, the body, was never truly alive in the spiritual sense. We are not the body, we are the mind or spirit that God created as part of himself. Sometimes I think of the funeral. It's like when you go to a funeral, I'm not saying there's not a grieving process, and I think grieving is important, because of course we're going to miss the person that died. But I think that the actual soul, the actual person, probably is extremely happy, as he maybe witnesses his own funeral. He's kind of dancing with the angels, and he can see clearly that this whole life was illusory anyway. I think that's what happens. Like when we leave our body, we see life in a much more clear way. I think of my parents. My father died a few years ago. I mean, I just think he's with me sometimes throughout the day, and I think he's wiser now. There were certain um, character traits that he had a hard time overcoming while he was, or unhealthy character traits he had a hard time overcoming when he was in his earthly form. But I think now that he is in a different state, I think he has a lot of love, and I feel him throughout the day. Sometimes I do. It's kind of beautiful when I see him and I feel him. I see Dana Banana is in the room. Her talk is just about to start. I love the talk that we had, Myrna. Thank you so much. Ooh, there is a chat here in the chat room. Dove wrote, in New Orleans, they celebrate the soul is released from the imprisonment of the body. Ooh, I kind of like that. I even remember when I was a hospice volunteer, one of my patients was Joy, and she didn't really have a funeral per se. She had a celebration of life. That's what her family called it when she passed. She had a celebration of life, and I think that's very beautiful. Focus on the love. So anyway, one more chat here. I get the feeling that once we leave this illusion, we can look from above the battlefield and laugh at attending our own funeral. I love that. Thank you, Robert. I love that. Well, thank you. Thank you. I love you all. I love you, Myrna. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Dove.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yes.
all for being here with us. And as A Course in Miracles says, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Only the love is real. Thank God for that. Have a blessed day. And I will now return the microphone to Lynn.
Thank you so much, Susan and Myrna. Beautiful hour, and you covered a lot of interesting topics in this hour. So I really appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, oh, and Dove has his hand up. Go ahead, Dove.
Yeah, I just make one comment because Susan mentioned she's she's thinking about trust most of her life. You don't trust in yourself, you trust in Holy Spirit. And ultimately, you are Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit in you is who you are. So you're trusting in Holy Spirit. You're not trusting in Dove.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Dove. Thank you, everybody. And I'm just so grateful for you all being here with us today. And
Thank
as
you.
I was saying, yeah, do subscribe and do like and come